Hello, and welcome to Pressing Buttons, a podcast about video games. I'm Hugo,
I'm Nick.
and welcome, audience, to episode 25 of Pressing Buttons. We are basically a quarter century, so it's pretty good if you ask me. In today's show, we're going to go over the agenda real quick. We're going to go over a bit of news. It's been a slow week news-wise, not a lot of video game news. Everybody's kind of taking a little vacation after the last 2 weeks of announcements. So light bit of news, but the good thing is we also have a segment where we're going to talk about our video game achievements, and then we have some of our listeners that have send us some achievements of their own, which we will also bring up and see how they fare, and then we'll be doing our closing thoughts. So thank you for joining us, and let's get on with the show. Like I said, first off, we're going to start with our news segment. First news we want to talk about was Gamescom. Not next month. In August, end of August 24th through the 28th. Gamescom usually happens in Germany. A lot of publishers and developers head out there to make any announcements and the like. But this year, a lot of big publishers like Sony, Nintendo, Take-Two, Activision, Blizzard, and others have decided to skip it. Some of it has to do with COVID, obviously, and then some of it, I think, has to do with nothing really to show. But Sony was the latest one to announce that they're not really going to do anything. We haven't heard anything from Microsoft. They might still have a presence, but this doesn't necessarily mean that they're just not going to show anything at all. It's just that these big publishers and developers are kind of skipping it. So who knows? They might still have something to show. It's one of those where like you also kind of look forward to, especially because it's like a wrap up after E3. Jeff Keighley's hosting it, so I'm a little bit disappointed that they won't have these big players. But things happen.
Yeah.
What about you, Nick? Are you disappointed this isn't happening?
Yeah, I think maybe a little disappointed. I kind of view it as like the big three are, E3, Tokyo Game Show, and Gamescom. So it is a pretty big event. There's usually some cool stuff that comes out of it. So maybe it's a little bit of a bummer, but at the same time, I don't think it's like that surprising. Just coming out of Summer Game Fest, and I think increasing a lot of, platforms and publishers are kind of wanting to just do their own thing, and I think it's just much easier for them to do that. They have way more control. I think it's probably much cheaper. So I think that'll be an increasing trend of people just trying to do their own stuff. So I don't know, I can't really think of maybe Microsoft has like some cool stuff, but I think they just had their own pretty big showcase. And then Sony, I think is just I think Sony does have a lot of stuff that they're going to start announcing soon, but they're just going to do that through their own showcase or state of play. So you really just got to start asking the question of what is the future of these large scale events. I don't know, so I guess we'll just have to see on that. And I'm kind of wondering what's going to happen with Tokyo Game Show, because I think that one's in I think it's usually in September or something like that. So yeah, it might be pretty grim for the rest of the year in terms of video game announcements, specifically at these big events.
Well, it looks like Sony's taking the Nintendo approach, which Nintendo has done for years, which is just we'll announce stuff when we want to announce stuff. We're not going to be beholden to the gamers, which is, on our end, I think it's not fun for us because we want to know when stuff is getting announced, or we want to know, hey, there's a showcase for this coming up soon. But it's a good approach. I mean, especially if everybody gets used to it. And the games come out looking good. So I do think come Tokyo Game Show time in September or whatever time that is, I think they will have more to show, just because they're Japanese-based companies and they do want to hype the crowd up. And even if not them, at least a lot of Japanese publishers and developers like Square Enix and such will have more to show. So hopefully they do get right on that and show us some more stuff, but who knows? We still have 6 months left on the year. I'm pretty sure there's some big announcements coming. All right. Next bit of news we wanted to move on to was FromSoftware. I know we haven't talked about FromSoftware a lot, in a bit. The first, I feel like,
yeah, we started the year as an Elden Ring podcast, basically.
Yeah, I feel like the first 15 episodes we always talked about Elden Ring. But they just sent a tweet recently. They're looking for new talent for their future projects. But in that tweet and in an interview that Miyazaki did, he basically said that they've almost done with a project that they've been working on. So that's kind of fun to hear, just because, one, we didn't know they were working on a project, and two, that it's almost done. And they also said that they're going to be continuing supporting Elden Ring, of course. Great game. We expect DLC to come out soon for that game, especially since it's been out for 4 months, and I feel like a lot of people have beat it or done everything that they can, so we can hopefully expect some of that. The only question is, what new game are they going to be announcing? Is it going to be something in the MechWarrior franchise, which has been rumored for a while, and it is the MechWarrior 25th anniversary, or
Armored Core. Armored Core.
Armored Core. I'm sorry, I get them confused. Armored Core franchise 25th year anniversary is this year, and obviously it's one of their most beloved franchises. I think they did 5, so this would be 6.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of them. I've frankly never really got into that series at all. I think I maybe tried playing one of them, but just wasn't my thing.
I always thought it had potential, but with the new improvements to game quality and graphics and controller and stuff like that, and from making such amazing games as Sekiro and Bloodborne and all the Dark Souls and now Elden Ring, I can't wait to see what they would do with this franchise in the future now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it might be another Armored Core, or it might just be another one of their projects. Obviously, they stepped away from their comfort zone. Well, not comfort zone, but obviously they did Bloodborne and Sekiro, and now Elden Ring, which wasn't one of the main lines as Dark Souls. So you could kind of probably see them doing another mainline single-player game. Are you hoping for anything specific? Is there something you want to see from them? What games do you see in their future?
Yeah, the thing I'm probably most looking forward to, which I actually don't know whether FromSoftware would do this or if it actually would be Bluepoint, but I just need the Bloodborne remaster, or I really don't care about it. I need to be able to play Bloodborne. I'm unable to play it in its current state, so I need that. I mean, it sounds like the studio, they just had so much success. I think they're finally moving into a place where they're going to be able to develop multiple games concurrently. So I wonder if what that kind of looks like in terms of, they probably continue doing like single player with some multiplayer elements, but like largely a single player kind of Souls type game. But then I wonder what else do they have in store in terms of like potentially other types of games, and is that something that's like, is it a Miyazaki thing, or do they have other kind of creative talent that they want to give some freedom to create something new? So I don't know. I think it's exciting. I love the studio, so it would be cool if we can get more of the same, and then as well as like some new stuff that's like maybe a little bit more outside the kind of maybe their comfort zone of what they've been delivering to date. So, yeah, it's exciting. But I just give me, all I know is I need Bloodborne. Everything else is gravy. That's kind of how I think about it.
Yeah, just release a Bloodborne remaster like you did Demon Soul, and then Bloodborne 2, baby. Whatever I think whatever From works on is going to be a banger. So I'm excited regardless. All right. So that does it for the news segment. Like I said, very slow week for news. Hopefully next week we ramp back up at least with some relevant information. If not, we'll figure something out. We always want to entertain you guys and make sure you guys are tuning in. So we'll figure it out. So now we're going to move into our video game achievements. Nick and I have wanted to do this for a while, or just in general, any sort of stories or segments that kind of have to do with video games, but not necessarily news type stories and segments. And obviously, this is going to be the first of many. We're going to kind of refine this and be better at it. But we want to talk about our video game achievements. I know Nick has played video games for a very long time. I played video games for a very long time. We love video games. That's why we decided to do this podcast. And there's a great sense of accomplishment when you do certain things in video games, where you can tell your friends and they get it. They understand that. They see the video game and they see what you've done and they're like, oh fuck, that's amazing. So it's a big thing. We got some listener responses down the road, which I'll read, but Nick and I are going to give you those video game achievements that we've done that we are proud that we've accomplished ourselves. And I'll start off with a couple of mine. We'll do a little back and forth and give you all of our video game achievements. Obviously, we're going to have more in the future, but these are the ones that we're proudest up to this point. So I'm going to start off with Call of Duty. So Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, back when it came out in like 2007 or 2008. I don't remember the exact year, but that was a time for me when I wasn't really doing much. I lived in Florida, and all I was doing was kind of working, going home, working, going home. I didn't really have a social life. So I played a lot of Call of Duty online on Xbox. Great times were had. So this game came out around that time. I'm very proud because I got the Mile High Club achievement, which entails basically you had to go through a plane, shoot a bunch of terrorists in under a minute, and then like headshot some terrorists. I think he's holding a gun to the president's daughter's head or the president's head or something. But you have to do it on veteran. It's a very sequence event, but you had to do everything right to do it in under a minute and just kind of get through. So I'm very proud of that one. And then the other one was being ranked 59th in kills in the world. And that was back when like you also had bots like populating the first 20 or 30 spots. So I could have been ranked higher. You had weird glitches, so you didn't know who was the top. But I had a lot of free time. So I was ranked 59th in the world, and that was pretty fun. I always say if streaming was popular back then and I had a whole kit, I could have been a big streamer. So, but it wasn't meant to be.
There you go. You just love killing, so that makes sense.
Yeah, go killing again. What about you? Give me some of your achievements to start off.
Yeah, I think one of my big ones is, and I think I've mentioned this in an episode or two, but I'm a big fan of rhythm games. So I'll pretty much play any rhythm game at this point. Most recently, I bought the Hatsune Miku game that was launched on Steam, so that's my most recent one. But the beginning of my love of rhythm games was actually with Guitar Hero. So it was Guitar Hero on PlayStation 2. So I think that was when I was in college. I think when that came out, and then I played quite a bit of it. So my achievement was actually just beating the initial Guitar Hero and Expert, which is pretty difficult. I don't know. Have you played any of those like kind of like hardware based, like whether it's Guitar Hero or Rock Band or anything like that?
I mean, that's why I give it to you, and I'll give you gaming props.
Okay, all right.
But I think it's like whenever we're out at an arcade or something like that, and you play these rhythm games, I'm like, what the fuck? Because I can't do it. I don't know what it is. I don't know because I naturally, not to sound weird, but I have rhythm. I like dancing and all that stuff, and whatever. But with the rhythm games, I feel like it's not connecting to the real world type thing. No offense,
but killing people is on Call of Duty.
It's a gun versus a dancing pad. Anyways, topic for another episode. But it's just, I don't know. I just can't get the two across, and that's also why I think you would be like a great fighting game player if you put your mind to it, just because I feel like if you have the coordination for rhythm games, I think you can have the coordination for the moves. But yeah, I can't get into it. I can't be good at it.
Yeah, no, I'm like so I love fighting games. I buy a lot of them. I watch people, like watch tournaments and stuff like that. But I am like terrible. I'm so bad at fighting games and like not even remotely competitive. So I'm actually looking forward to Street Fighter 6, and they have like a slightly more accessible control scheme. So maybe I'll be able to pull through and prove you right. But yeah, so I think that's a big one for me, and I think most people who've been through that experience of trying to beat Guitar Hero and Expert, they'll remember one specific song. It's Ozzy Osbourne, "Bark at the Moon," which there's like a couple different guitar solos in the game that are just excruciatingly difficult, and that's basically like how you beat the game. Is like if you can beat that song, then you're like pretty good shape. So that's like the big milestone for success. So that was a big one for me. I
Well,
vividly
that's one
remember
thing.
beating it and then like running laps around my apartment because I was like so pumped. So it was a good
Well,
one.
that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this segment, because it's like I said at the beginning, like I don't play Guitar Hero. I don't know how everything works, but I know how hard that is, and I know how like amazing it was to do that thing. So like, yeah, I congratulate you on that.
Thank you. All right, how about you? You're up next.
All right, so my next couple of big video game achievements I wanted to say were they have to do with like gameplay mechanics. One is Guacamelee Chicken Run achievement, which is basically you have this chicken, and I don't know, if you've never played Guacamelee. In Guacamelee, it has a lot of mechanics where you can kind of freeze time and switch the platforming and just push. So you basically have to push this chicken through a labyrinth that's full of spikes to get buzzsawed at the end. So it was really hard. It was kind of hard to get the timing. I did this like 8 years ago. It's on my YouTube channel. I'll put the link to my YouTube channel. This is not a plug. I'll put the link to my YouTube channel on the show notes. So it was very hard platforming, especially getting it down. It took me a bunch of tries. I think I put down that it took me like 5 hours or something. No, I think it was less than 5 hours. But it took me a long time to kind of perfect it, and that's the thing with these achievements. It's all about repetition to get it perfect, to get a good run, to finish it up. The other one being Hollow Knight, which with the DLC and everything, I love Hollow Knight. Great platformer, great Metroidvania. There's a certain DLC that you can do, and you're basically platforming through a bunch of, again, spikes level where you're just like bouncing off spikes, dashing across the air and stuff like that. Very hard level area, and I beat that, so I was very proud of that. What are your next gaming achievements?
Yeah, that's I guess a good segue to my next one, where it's a game called Celeste, which is another 2D pretty difficult platformer game. Uh, I think it's kind of like Super Meat Boy, maybe a little bit, where it's like really specific paths that you need to get through a level, and like it's super precise jumps and a couple of other mechanics. So it's a really great game. So I was able to beat that, and then as you go through the game, you also unlock like these like side levels. So it's called, I think it's A side or B sides. So I think that's the main game. Then there's B sides, and then there's C sides, and then the C sides are like these insanely complex or difficult levels. So I was able to beat all of those. It took quite a bit of time, but I actually checked the Steam achievement, and only like 7% of people who played the game were able to get that one. So I feel like that's pretty. I feel like if you can get a trophy with fewer than 10% of people able to get it, I feel like that's pretty good.
Yeah, especially how considering how popular Celeste is, I think that's a big one. Which
Yeah.
is great with these new achievements statistics. I know they have a lot of now like percentile things, so it's kind of good to kind of compare yourself to whoever's playing the game.
Yeah, no, it's super helpful. I think just with a lot of my achievements, I kind of realized like a lot of them aren't on PC. It's like kind of older games, so I don't know what that says about me, but I didn't really have any cool, like, interesting Steam, achievements or trophies, or I didn't really check PlayStation or Xbox, but I don't think I have anything super cool. I'm not a big trophy person, so yeah.
I think that's when they were harder, like when they didn't have these like achievement trophy pop-ups. That's when they were harder. That's when they just made the game hard to be hard, and then if you beat it and you did these certain things a certain way, and then you told your friends about it, that was the achievement. Like it wasn't popped up. You didn't see it on your profile. No, you just like, hey, this crazy thing I did on Metal Gear Solid or something like that. Like that was the achievement, and obviously you'd be like, whoa, what the fuck? Yeah, man, that's fucking amazing.
So I have specifically 2 games where it's exactly that story, where when I was growing up and played these games, they were like, I couldn't beat them, but then they became something that I wanted to complete when I got older. So I have a couple of those coming a bit later.
Yeah. All right. And then my next set of, I would say, achievements kind of have to do more with PvP stuff. The first one being Destiny. Trials of Osiris, for those unfamiliar, is basically a PvP mode. It's very competitive. It matters what guns you have. It matters the map. It matters your teammates. And back in the Destiny 1 days, I was pretty proficient in terms of like holding my own. I'm not going to sit here and say I carried people. I'm going to sit here and I say that I held my own, and then if you didn't have to carry me. So that's what I tell everybody. But in certain instances, 2 of my teammates died, and it was just me versus 3. So like, there's a bunch of times where like I managed to prevail, and I'm a big PvP person, so that felt good having that accomplishment, 1 versus 3, and just winning the game or winning the round on my own. That felt great. Same thing with Last of Us multiplayer. If you're not familiar with, it kind of plays like the main game, where you go around the map and you get materials throughout the map, and then you can build bombs, you can get bullets, you can get health kits. So I played a lot of Last of Us multiplayer, which is why I want a lot of good news from the Last of Us 2 multiplayer whenever they announced that, just because it was a different, unique multiplayer, and there was a lot of instances where like I won versus 4 just in terms of like setting up bombs that I crafted, shooting with snipers, shooting with the bow. It's a good game where if the other team is playing right and they have 4 of you, they can easily take you out. But if you're the last one standing, you can definitely take them out, just because they also give you the advantage of giving you extra material so you can kind of win the game. Same thing with Assassin's Creed multiplayer, which I was a big fan of. If you've never played it, you're basically play the simulation with a bunch of assassins, whether 7 or 8 or whatever the amount is, but everybody's dressed like you, and you kind of have to figure out which one's the real person, not an NPC. So that was another hard video game. So in terms of multiplayer, it's always a great achievement when you can do something 1 versus 2, 1 versus 3, 1 versus 4, whatever. It's tough, but when you pull those moves, and especially when your teammates can see that, like, it's definitely a confidence booster.
Cool. Yeah, I have or at least for me, like, I don't know, maybe it's pretty similar to what you were just talking about, but the original Halo game. So Halo basically defined my college. The first few years of my college experience was just playing a ton of Halo. The reason being is because that was before Xbox Live existed, and I was on a college campus that had a large, connected network. So if you plugged your Xbox into the internet in your dorm room, you effectively could play against anyone on the college campus, which I know that like now that sounds like it's like whatever, but like that was a big deal back then.
Such an archaic system.
yeah, being able to like just play with like basically anyone, basically like online, was super cool. So we played tons of Halo, and then we actually organized, or some other group organized, like a college-wide Halo tournament. I don't remember the exact rule set, but me and my buddies pulled together a team and entered the tournament. We fucking destroyed everyone. So that was cool. So I had that on my list as like as an achievement of, pre esports, pre Xbox Live, big kind of college wide tournament, and being able to win that was pretty cool.
That's what I'm saying, man. If like the technology that we have now was available when we were younger, we could have been fucking Twitch stars or something.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was why. So I do have, I did play a lot of first-person shooters with a controller, on Xbox. So that's why, like, I always give you shit about you continue to use a controller to play a first-person shooter, and it's also like a Bungie, it's a Bungie game with Destiny. That was Bungie who created the original Halo. So I've been through the transition, man. It's just you gotta get the mouse and keyboard. You gotta do it.
It'll happen eventually. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right.
It's a gaming goal.
Yeah. So that was maybe my like more multiplayer centric achievement. The other one I had on here, I think you've actually got me beat on this, but I think it's still something like. But all the from like a lot of the FromSoftware games, they have a general reputation for being pretty difficult. So I've been able to beat the Dark Souls trilogy, Demon Souls on PS3, Demon Souls remake on PS5, and then most recently Elden Ring. And I beat, like, that was basically at the beginning of quarantine. I think basically I bought all those games either at launch or shortly after they launched and played them for a little bit, and then just kind of got frustrated. And I basically did that with every time one of those games came out. But again, at the beginning of quarantine, I used that as like, okay, I'm gonna actually focus and beat these games because I have nothing else better to do. So I just plowed through all of those games basically in a few month period. So that was pretty cool. And I think you've beaten all those, right? And then you've also beaten Bloodborne and Sekiro, right?
Yeah, that's the thing with these Souls games, where like if you're in the mood for them, you can kind of run through them or do them. Whereas like if you're not, you'll probably do one or two worlds and then kind of like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. It's taxing. But yeah, I've beat all Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro, and obviously a lot of all of them have different endings. You could get like 4 or 5 endings for each one. So you know there's tricks to it where you can save at the end, save scum, so you can get all the endings, which I've done obviously because it's kind of hard to beat the game and then beat it again just to get a different ending. But
I mean, you're just a natural scumbag, so.
I am a scumbag, save scum and bastard. But jumping off of that, like future challenges, one of my other gaming achievements, which I just did recently, I was very proud of, was that I did a Destiny solo dungeon, and then just doing a lot of research in terms of like watching YouTube videos, seeing other people do it, what loadouts to have, how to beat certain bosses, what's the best way to do damage phase, and stuff like that. Was very enlightening, and it kind of pumped my gaming gears up to kind of do that with other games. And in the future, I might give some Sekiro or Dark Souls, Elden Ring runs where I might want to do like level 1 runs or only using a certain type of weapon or no magic or stuff like that. Obviously, with Dark Souls and all that, I might start slow just because I know how difficult of a game is, but I'm excited because I want to try and do these things, not necessarily for everybody else, just for me, just to be like, oh, I could do this. It's really fun, and if it's not fun, then I can stop. I have that control. So beating Destiny, doing a solo dungeon, I think it took me like 12 hours to do over 2 days. My next goal is to kind of do it in one run. now that I've perfected the run and kind of know what to do, what's expected, what guns I need to use, I feel like if I do it next time, I can do it in a clean run, and I can probably do it. It's going to take me some hours, but I feel like I could do it in less than 12 hours. So hopefully with that motivation, I can kind of move that into Dark Souls and do like a hardcore Dark Souls run or something like that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a number of different flavors of Souls, Souls runs. There's Soul Level 1, where you basically never upgrade, which I think that's what you're talking about, right? Like you basically never level up and complete the game. There's speed running is another fun category, which is applicable to like a lot of different games. And then there's one category that I watched a ton of, which I think is fun, but it's the no-hit runs. So playing the game, which I think this is like so insanely difficult and requires tons of planning and research, but beating those games without ever getting hit is like another category. So yeah, those are insane. So I've watched a ton of those. Those are pretty fun to watch. Yeah, you should stream a Souls run and see what happens. That'd be fun.
It's just going to be a lot of disappointment and me kind of falling off cliffs for no reason, because that's what I tend to do in video games. Like there's a cliff and I jump off, and why? I don't know. It's just how I do it.
That's how you do it.
But yeah, those. Do you have any last achievements that you want to say?
Yeah, I can maybe do like a quick lightning round. Maybe to close out. I have like one more where I thought it was like more like difficulty oriented, and then I have like a few quick ones that I think are just more like interesting achievements that I happen to like. So yeah, there's this one developer. His name is Terry Kavanagh. So he's a indie game developer. I think his kind of first big game was called VVVVVV. If you've ever heard of that one.
I'm gonna have to refresh my mind, but it's a distinct title that I kind of remember.
It's a 2D like platformer where you like basically mess around with gravity, where you're going like up and down. It's like a puzzle platformer type game.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was kind of like an indie darling game a while back, but then he created a bunch of other. So I was a fan of him, and then he created this game called Super Hexagon, which was initially on mobile titles, but I think it's pretty much on most platforms now. But I have no idea how to describe this game. Like you basically just need to check out a YouTube video of what this is, but it's called Super Hexagon, and it's real simple. All you do is you just press left and right. You're basically like a little triangle in the center of the screen, and there's a bunch of like obstacles kind of like coming towards you, and you need to like avoid the obstacles by just spinning yourself left and right. And there's cool music, and as you progress through it, it gets like increasingly more difficult. So again, there's like no way to describe this game. Like you gotta look at it, but it's super difficult. I would love to just watch you try to play this game just to see what happens. But I was able to beat it and see the credits, and I was pretty proud of that one. And then another quick one is another game from Terry Kavanagh was called Maverick Bird. Do you remember the whole Flappy Bird craze?
Yeah, Flappy Bird.
Okay.
Which
so this was
what was that game? That Paper Plane, which is just a knockoff of that Paper Plane game.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of copied assets going in a lot of different directions. But yeah, Flappy Bird was this huge mobile game craze where you basically just jump your bird and you hit a jump button to go through pipes that were seemingly copied and pasted from Super Mario World. So so Terry Kavanaugh kind of made like a game inspired by Flappy Bird called Maverick Bird, where it's kind of it's Terry Kavanaugh's like art style and, you know, kind of music and difficulty. But it's, you know, more or less the same kind of mechanics as Flappy Bird. And I actually don't remember what the actual achievement was, but I think there was a leaderboard, and I'm pretty sure I was like either the best player or like a top 10 player at that whatever point in time I was playing the game. Like I was like abnormally high, and so I can't confirm this, but I can. So what's funny is I was playing this game shamelessly at work during down periods, and sitting next to me was none other than...
That's the best time.
yeah. Sitting next to me while doing that was none other than Deepaz from Deepaz Design. So he can corroborate that I'm like abnormally good at this game. Like I remember him watching me and being like, what the hell is going on? So he can back me up if anyone's questioning my skill at Maverick Bird.
I've been playing video games on company time. I think is an achievement in itself, and you should be proud of. And you succeeded.
I also built a gaming PC on company time, so
there you go.
Go.
That's the ultimate achievement. Just like do fun shit while you're working and get away with it.
Well, yeah, it's because I was living in I had this like shithole apartment in Lower East Side, New York, and I was getting all these like very expensive PC components. You know, I was buying them online and having them shipped to me. So I was like, I'm not risking having these shipped to my apartment where like anyone can just take packages off my porch. So I had to get all this stuff mailed to work, and then I just figured I might as well just build the damn thing while I'm there. So that was the strat. What else? So yeah, I got a few others. I don't want to belabor all these, but maybe real quick. Final Fantasy XIV is up there for me. Again, kind of like less difficulty based. I just think it's something that I'm happy with, that I was able to complete that game. It took like well over 600 hours over a 6-month period. So it was a big time commitment, but it was very rewarding completing the game. It was like an awesome ending to the main story with the Endwalker expansion. So I feel pretty good about that one. ToeJam Earl. Did you ever play the ToeJam Earl game on Sega Genesis?
I played a little bit, not too much, but I know of ToeJam Earl. That's a 90s reference for our viewers.
Yeah, yeah. Old school game. It's something that I really liked. So I played this game like as a kid, and it's hard. It's kind of quirky. There's a lot of RNG components to it. And I think you basically like need to play the game in like one sitting. Like there's no real, like password system or save system or whatever. So like if you really want to beat the game, like it's got to be a focused effort. So it's one of those games that I liked. I never beat it. I always wanted to beat it. And I guess kind of going back to, when I was living in the Lower East Side. So I think this was, I lived there for a long time, but what happened was Hurricane Sandy. Were you in New York for that? Do you remember Sandy?
Oh yeah, I was definitely here for that shit.
Okay. Yeah.
The whole Midtown to the Lower was blackout, and I was happily in Washington Heights with electricity.
Yeah, so I was
ordering Domino's.
Yeah, I was in the blackout, baby. So I was I was in the Lower East Side. I had no power. I had to go up to one of my buddies. Thankfully had space and was kind enough to let me crash at his place in the Upper West Side. So Upper West Side had power. Both of us, our offices were also in the blackout period, so like we couldn't work. Like the companies we worked for, they just were closed. So we could do whatever we wanted. And I have no idea how we came to this idea, but we were like, hey, let's beat ToeJam Earl. So like that was like my big thing. I think we didn't do it. We didn't play it every hour of the day, but like for a couple of days, we were spending a ton of time trying to beat ToeJam Earl, and we finally did it. So I felt great about that one. So that's a fun little story.
Reminiscent of Ghosts and Goblins. I don't know if you ever played Ghosts and Goblins.
Oh yeah,
the whole thing. And spoilers, what a letdown when you finish the game one time, because you kind of have to beat the game again because you get to the last boss, you beat it, and I don't remember exactly, but I remember like it wasn't the boss. You got to redo it again to do the whole thing, and it's a very hard game. There's no saves. It's just a hard game, and it sounds like ToeJam Earl is also a hard game.
Well, there's more like RNG to it, where you're just playing through procedurally generated levels, and ultimately like the goal of the game is to, I think it's like 5 pieces of your ship. So like you crash land somewhere, your ship falls, breaks apart into a bunch of different pieces, and you're just going through the world trying to collect your ship pieces. But it's like completely random when a ship piece will actually be on a level. So I think that's like one of the challenging things to it. And yeah, I think maybe one last achievement, maybe it's a little bit related, where it was a game that I loved in my childhood that I could never beat, and then as I got older, I just decided that I really wanted to beat this game. So it's actually one of my good buddies growing up. We played soccer together. I'm coincidentally wearing a soccer jersey, but which Hugo earlier was making fun of me for wearing. But yeah, I swear to God, it's a coincidence. But played a lot of soccer growing up. The way that, where I come from, I'm from St. Louis. So arcade games were very commonly put into like soccer arenas. Like I played like a lot of indoor soccer. There'd be like, a field or maybe a couple fields, and then you have like an area where they would have arcade games. So that's where I would basically play all my arcade games, was at soccer arenas. And Ninja Turtles, was just like a huge arcade game, in the 90s, and I love the franchise, but that game's not designed to be beaten, with a few quarters. So I don't know how much. So I would basically play the game like every chance I got, but you don't really get too far into it unless you have like a bunch of money. So it's a game that me and my buddy, when we played soccer together, like we'd play it a lot. And then as we got older, we were living in New York, and just like as a fun thing to do, like, hey, let's go over to Barcade. I think it's in like Midtown or
there's
Chelsea,
a couple.
maybe,
there's one in Brooklyn. There's one in Midtown. There's one in St. Mark's, I believe.
Oh yeah, St. Mark's. I think it was the St. Mark's one, maybe. Yeah. So we go to Barcade, and we're like, our objective here is we're beating this damn game. Doesn't matter how much it costs.
I have money.
Yeah, I'm all grown up. Money ain't no thing. So it was fun. Like it's so funny how everyone gets so upset about modern day like monetization mechanics, but like that was awful. Like the game was designed to take your core. Like you cannot beat the game unless you pay. Like it's quite literally pay to win.
Preying on some young innocent children.
Yeah. And it's like that's why like those games just don't hold up when you get, like if you try to download that specific game and try to play it now, you're just like, what the hell is this? And that's why Shredder's Revenge is cool, because it's like it's like that.
You don't have to worry about the
but it's like actually fun. Yeah, it's actually like fun, and I feel like fair and
and The Simpsons, like you said, Turtles in Time and The Simpsons game, just super quarter take my money type shit.
Yeah, I don't even remember. Like we had to have spent like well over $10, I'm pretty sure, to actually beat the game. So we beat the game. Call it $10, I don't know, but it was quite a bit of money just to be able to get anywhere close to beating the game. And that was kind of fun. That we were just having some beers, beating turtles. It was a good time. That's it.
Well, I mean, that's one of those. It's why I love this segment, just because we both love video games. We both love talking about video games, and when we can talk to each other about like video game achievements, it's a whole other level. Yeah, the stats are on the console and online and stuff like that, but just like, oh man, that was crazy. Like I felt you. Well, I understood you when you were like, oh yeah, Turtles in Time. Spent so many quarters. I'm like, yeah, I was a fucking kid as well. And it's like, I don't have any money. I can't finish this. But now you're an adult. It's like, oh, $10? Fine, I'll fucking waste $10 on this. I spent $10 on fucking lunch or some shit.
Yeah. That's right.
But so that does it for us in terms of video game achievements. And now we're going to kind of go into our listeners, which thank you. For the listeners that submitted some of their video game achievements and highlights, we're going to list 3 or 4. Let me see what we got. Again, thank you for that. We have, first going off of our good friend who's always on the Discord, Willie. He sent in that he got the Relic, Aeonic, Empyrean, and Mythic achievement in Final Fantasy XI, which is basically obtaining all forms of ultimate weapons. Sounds crazy. I had to ask Nick what that meant, but apparently it's just like, it's very time consuming, which, speaking about these achievements, a lot of them are time consuming and how much time you're willing to spend to get it if you want to get it. So it's just like collecting a bunch of weapons in Final Fantasy XI, and it's very time consuming. So Willie, shout outs to you for getting all of these, and according to Nick, it's very tough.
Yeah, I actually don't know. Yeah, I never played Final Fantasy XI, but just kind of projecting, my experience with Final Fantasy XIV to that. Like that must have been quite the effort to, get all that stuff, and so yeah, sounds pretty impressive.
And the next one we got is from Reapers of the Galaxy clan, which I'm a part of. Very big gamers, love them to death. Mainly from Kizzy, Superhero, Felix. They managed, I mean, I don't know if this is a gaming achievement, but it's a video game related achievement. They managed to keep a PlayStation party active for about a week, which is very tough. You know, if you're not familiar with PlayStation 4 parties, you can join them, whatever. It tells you the time you're in there for, but they were just like, they would swap out, like, they would keep the party active. Somebody would always be in that party. They managed to keep it alive for about a week, and then I think the internal system of the PlayStation 4 does not allow more than a week because it kept kicking them out, and eventually the party shut itself down. But very tough to keep up, especially just because it's one of those parties. It's like, let's keep the party alive. If it was a real party, people drinking, people having fun, that one person still drinking until the group refreshes. So that was pretty funny. I was part of it at some point. So yeah, definitely a good party to be a part of. And I'm sad that it died. But maybe we can bring it up again on PlayStation 5. Even though we don't play PlayStation that much anymore, it's all PC. Whatever. Let's keep it, alive for the new generation. And then we got another one from Albert on another member of the Reapers of the Galaxy fandom. He put in Batman Arkham Asylum and Persona 5. Very time consuming, like we said. Time is a big factor in a lot of these. And going off experience, Batman Arkham Asylum, I got the achievement, the platinum on that. It's a very tough one because you definitely have to do a lot of things to get the final achievement, and then some of them are hard. And
is
then
that
also
the one with the Riddler? All the Riddler stuff?
All the Riddler stuff, and then you
man.
have to like 120 hit combo, which is another thing. And then Persona 5, which is also another very time consuming, knowing from playing a little bit of Persona, that one's tough. And then Division as well. So thank you, Albert, for suggesting that. We know how hard it is for you. We know how hard it is for everybody. So that's all I got for everybody submitting. Thanks to all the submissions. This was definitely a really fun episode in terms of like hey, what have you done in video games? What have I done in video games? I understand that, good segment. So we're going to be bringing a lot more of these in the future.
Well, it's clear that I'm the better gamer. I think that's what I learned.
Debatable. Depends what video games.
At least I have better rhythm. We can agree to that, right?
In video games, come on, man. I'm Dominican.
All right.
All right, so we're going to move on to closing thoughts. Very long episode, but bear with us. I'm going to start it off. Just want to talk about 2 shows I've been watching. One is Players. It's a new show on Paramount Plus. It deals with like an esports team based off of League of Legends. It's pretty fun. It has a lot of jokes, but you kind of have to know the game to understand it. But it shows a very dynamic look into esports and how the teams work and how sponsorship works and all that stuff. If you haven't checked it out, I recommend it. I'll put some links in the Discord. Make sure you check out the Pressing Buttons Discord so you can check it out. And the other show I wanted to talk about was Hacks. It's a show on HBO Max. It stars Jean Smart as an aging comedian. She's pretty funny. The whole cast is pretty funny. It's a show about an aging comedian and how they're dealing with just kind of trying to be funny in this day and age. So definitely recommend it. I don't want to give too much away, but they have a lot of witty jokes, very up to date. Check that out. The other thing, this one's a game, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge. This is more of like a Nick and I closing thought, just because we played it on Wednesday for game night with Mitch, our good friend Mitch, Brooklyn Dad. We had a lot of fun. It's a fucking amazing game. I think it checks all the boxes for me, being an 80s baby, in terms of 90s nostalgia, like the gameplay, the graphics, the music, and the fucking Ninja Turtles, which I've always loved. Great game. We got to, I believe, chapter 12 or 10 or 12. We're a couple chapters away from the end. We're going to continue playing this, but if you haven't gotten that game, if you want a game to play with some friends and have a good time, definitely get Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. And then off of that, the one last thing is I want to show you guys, for those viewing this on YouTube, if you haven't, kind of jump in on YouTube real quick. But
very angry.
My Steam Deck. Woo woo. I know Nick is very angry.
It's already filthy. How is it so dirty already?
It's black. It's going to be filthy and dirty. I got to clean it up. I got to get a screen protector. But anyways, I'm not going to give too much away, just because I want to, I'm such a good friend. I'm such a good co-host. I want Nick to get his, and then we can kind of chat about it and give our impressions. So just quick impressions. I'm loving the system, loving the control, still kind of getting used to it, getting used to what it does. Obviously, the main thing is playing games from Steam, for my Steam library. So far, the games that I've been able to play, amazing, run great. And hopefully they make a bunch of the games that I'm not able to play Steam compatible. But about half of my library, 50% of like 70 games that I have on Steam are Steam Deck playable. So hopefully they make more Steam Deck compatible and I can play more games. But so far, I'm enjoying the system. Can't wait to play more with it. Only qualm right now is the battery life, which is understandable running these high-end stuff on the game, but there's tricks to that. So don't want to talk too much about it. Obviously, I'm going to wait for Nick, and then we can give on our full co-host to co-host review on this. But
cool.
Get the Steam Deck if you can't.
Might be waiting a while because I don't think I'm expected to get mine for another few months. So
yeah, you're like quarter 3, right?
Yeah. So
yeah, I got mine. I was at quarter 2 and I got it at the end of quarter 2. So hopefully you're not at the end of quarter 3.
Brutal. That's fine. I don't really need it right now. Have you been playing Destiny on it, or is that not compatible?
I can't play Destiny. It's not Steam Deck verified, and something with the battle system, which is their anti-cheat system. I can play it. I just have to install Windows. It's a whole thing. I haven't messed around too much with like the third-party stuff and how to get around things, because Obviously, I'm new, but I do like honestly. That's why I got it because I wanted to play Destiny on it. I will figure out a way to play Destiny on it, but for now, I haven't played it just because I don't want to get banned from Destiny and have to
Oh
get a new
no,
account and get all my shit again. I don't want to do all
that'd
that.
be bad. Yeah, I heard it's kind of the same situation with Final Fantasy XIV where there's like a whole big workaround that you need to do. I think it's basically playing it through Windows in some way as opposed to SteamOS. So maybe it's a similar solution as the Destiny. So it's possible, but you got to jump through some hoops to make it happen.
Yeah,
cool. All right. Well,
those,
that'll be fun.
It's one of those where like I don't want to fuck up and ask for forgiveness later because forgiveness is like don't ban me. So I'm not trying it out too much. But I like I said I'm looking up a lot of YouTube videos trying to see workarounds for certain things, but the machine itself for what it's meant to do, which is Steam, and then the Linux software, I think it does a great job. And like I said, the battery life is one of my qualms, but I have portable chargers and stuff like that. I'll be fine. And
Cool.
what are your closing thoughts, buddy?
Yeah, pretty TV heavy in the last week. I think I mentioned I picked up watching Better Call Saul, which is a show that I watched the first season and most of the second season, several years ago, like probably around the time that it aired. I got really, it was like a slow, kind of like a slow burn initially, and then I just really didn't like the character of Chuck. Like I think he was just super annoying, and so I think he was a big driver for like why I just kind of tuned out of the show. But as the show just did more seasons, there was just so much positive chatter around how the show evolves and gets like really, really good. So I always had it on my to-do list to go back and pick, give the show another shot and get current. So yeah, basically been, after work wraps up, it's been me and my wife just been binging Better Call Saul pretty much every night for the last week. So it's been great.
Well, I'm hoping you guys catch up before obviously this season, which is the final season, so that we can kind of be on the same page. But like you said, it's one of those slow burns where it takes a couple seasons for you to see. But I think as a show, it kind of dives deep into the character of like, it's not all black and white. You got to kind of know everybody's past and what they're going through and how they became this way. It's a great sequel or prequel to Breaking Bad, and I think it might, in a sense, be better than Breaking Bad in just some aspects, but they're both great shows. So I'm glad that you picked it back up, and we can kind of talk about it this season with the final season.
Yeah, I think we'll catch up. We're hitting it pretty hard, so I think we're almost done. We'll be done with season 3 definitely today. And what is there 5 seasons? What's coming out now? What's coming out in July?
5 seasons. Season 6 is the current one, and that one they did half last month. Well, 2 months for the half of it, and then the second half premieres in July. So you'll definitely have plenty of time.
Yeah, we're hitting it real hard. So it sounds like we got 2.5 seasons to get through. I think we basically went through all of season 3 like yesterday or over the last couple of days. So we'll be good. We'll catch up. It kind of reminds me of when the same thing happened to me with Lost, actually, where I was like a late joiner to the Lost craze, and by the time I got into the show, it had already done many seasons, and I had to it almost became like a job where I had to watch so much of the show to get caught up to the last season. Because they made it very clear. They're like, oh, this is the final season. It's going to be this. So I had to put in quite the effort to get caught up by then. So, but that's fun.
Yeah, and funnily enough, with a lot of the cast from Better Call Saul have a big video game presence. You have Michael Mando, who was in Far Cry, Giancarlo Esposito, who was in Jedi Fallen Order, and the newest Far Cry. So that's kind of video game meets television world. which we're big fans of.
That's right. And yeah, I think I don't know why. I think because I already knew how much I hated the character of Chuck. Like when I picked it up for the second time, like I just kind of was able to like just deal with it because I already knew he was annoying, and I guess maybe that's why I was able to like appreciate the second season more because I was just able to focus on everything else. So I don't know, but yeah, I really enjoyed I didn't go back to season 1 because it was very slow, and I don't think anything too crazy happened. So I used season 2 as like my starting point. Yeah. So I picked it back up with.
But he gets
season 2.
Chuck gets very complex in season 3 and 4. So
he does. Yeah. No, it's. I'm still like annoyed by him, but it's not as bad as maybe season 1 or at the beginning of season 2. So yeah, that's on the TV side. On the game side, because I've been so deep on Better Call Saul, I haven't played too many games actually. It's really just been Neon White, where I made a little bit of progress. I think I'm almost done with the game, and my hope is that'll be another game that I can mention in another achievements segment, because I think it's like kind of hard. Like I'll be curious to see if this actually ends up like being like a really hard game to get all of the, they call them ace medals. So if you're able to beat the level, at the fastest time, you get an ace medal. So what I'm trying to do is get an ace medal for every level of the game. And I don't know, once the game's been out a little bit longer, I'll be curious to see whether that's actually perceived as like an actual achievement, like it's something that's very difficult to do, or it might be that the game just actually does like a really good job of making you feel like a god gamer. Like it's like hard to describe, but like when you beat one of these things, you're just like, yeah, like you just feel so good. And maybe some of that's like influencing why I think it's actually difficult, but I don't know if it's really difficult or not. So I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of how I feel about it. But so I'm still playing that, and I want to get that to completion in the next couple weeks. And then I haven't played it yet, but I did get access to Gundam Evolution, which is I think basically Gundam meets Overwatch. So I'm gonna give that a whirl. I think the beta is up until Tuesday, so I'll be able to play with that for a couple days. And unfortunately, I have to play it on PlayStation. So
unfortunately,
because I can't play mouse and keyboard, then I got to do controller. Yeah, I know, right? It's rough. It's rough. But if I end up just liking the game in general, I'll potentially pick that up on PC whenever it comes out. So that's the scoop.
All right, can't wait to hear more of that on that Gundam Evolution, and obviously Neon White. Get those achievements up. Are you gonna check out Neon White? I will, but I think down the road it is Steam Deck compatible. So
that's where I was going with that.
One thing about the Steam Deck, it's like now my backlog doesn't seem too much of a backlog because I could just do it on the go. So I think that's my driving force for the Steam Deck, which is just play a lot of the Steam games that I downloaded but never played. So that's kind of pushing me, which is good. I do want to play these games. I do want to give impressions. I do want to let people know how they are. So that's what's pushing me behind the Steam Deck right now. Get through my Steam backlog. So I'm excited. And Neon White sounds perfect for it.
Yeah.
All right. So that does it for this episode 25 of Pressing Buttons. Thanks for joining us. Obviously, we had a lot of fun with the achievements. Hopefully, you guys had too. Our lines are still open. Our emails are still open. The Discord is still open. If you want to still shout us out and give us some achievements that you guys have conquered or have gone through and want us to know, feel free. We're always there to listen. But thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode of Pressing Buttons. I'm Hugo. Bye.
I'm Nick. Later.